Welcome back to the Digital Ledger Podcast. I'm DJ, here with Erin, who sees where things are going before they get there. What we're looking at today is how finance leaders are moving from just surviving uncertainty to actually using it as a strategic advantage heading into 2026.
And honestly, this doesn't get talked about enough because when you look at what CFOs are dealing with right now, it's not just one or two issues. It's tariffs shifting, inflation persisting, labor dynamics constantly evolving, and then you layer AI on top of all that. The visibility everyone's craving just isn't there.
Right. And the real shift is that finance leaders are done waiting for things to calm down. They're realizing uncertainty isn't temporary anymore, it's structural. So the question becomes, how do you actually build an organization that can move fast and stay profitable when the ground keeps shifting underneath you?
That's exactly where the conversation needs to start. Melissa Hawinson, who's the CFO at Vina, put it really well when she said uncertainty is the new certainty, and we need to run businesses that are more agile than ever. It's not about hoping for clarity, it's about building flexibility into everything you do, your budgets, your capital allocation, your hiring decisions. You plan confidently where you can, but you leave room to pivot when you need to.
Before we continue with the episode, we want to be transparent with our audience, and that is that AI helps support research and shape parts of this episode. But all fact-checking, analysis, and final decisions come from us as humans. We're blending the best of both worlds. Alright, so moving right along, what does that actually look like operationally? Because I think a lot of leaders hear be more agile, and it just sounds like vague advice.
It's a fair question, DJ. In practice, it means you're stress testing your budgets against multiple scenarios, not just your base case. You're building financial models that can reallocate capital quickly if conditions change. And you're identifying your key strategic levers before a shock hits. Though when something does shift, you're responding with precision instead of scrambling. Lauren Sadelbaker at ITR Economics pointed out that businesses are getting off the sidelines now. They realize perfect information isn't coming, but they still need to invest, hire, and improve efficiency. The era of sitting on your hands waiting for clarity is over.
So let's talk about where finance leaders are actually placing those bets. And the biggest one right now is AI. It's moved from something you explore to something you have to deploy strategically if you want to stay competitive.
Absolutely. And it's not just about whether you're investing in AI anymore, it's about where and how. Michael Pariga at Rimini Street is looking at how AI can automate manual processes across the entire administrative line. This isn't small tweaks, DJ. This is fundamentally rethinking your cost structure and how you use labor. Companies that hesitate here aren't just missing an efficiency gain. They're falling behind on something structural.
And here's what's interesting, Erin. AI is also changing how finance leaders think about the old build versus buy question. If you need a new capability or feature, do you acquire it or develop it internally? That trade-off analysis has been standard for decades. What's shifting?
The dynamic has completely flipped. David Pickle from Lub said it well. Companies can now build things faster and more cost-effectively with AI than they used to. Priyanka Singh at Litera shared how they're using AI to develop new features much faster than they could buy them through M&A. So for finance leaders listening, here's the actionable step. Take a hard look at your current project pipeline. Are there features or internal tools you've been thinking about acquiring that you could actually build faster and cheaper in-house using AI? It changes the entire calculus around growth investments.
That's a clear shift in strategy, but there's a risk on the other side of this, and it's one Lauren Seidel-Baker calls out specifically. It's what she calls profitless prosperity. Your top line grows, but inflation and rising input costs eat away at your margins. Walk us through that, Erin.
It's a trap, and it's a real one. You see revenue growth, but your bottom line isn't moving because costs are outpacing pricing power. Seidel-Baker highlights this as a persistent challenge through 2027. The old playbook of just passing costs on to customers doesn't work reliably anymore. So CFOs need to scrutinize their margin assumptions much more rigorously. Growth without profitability isn't success. It's a warning sign.
So what do you actually do about it? How do you protect margins in this environment?
Two things, and they both require discipline. First, apply intense scrutiny to your S&G&A budgets. Many CFOs are already doing this, and they're using AI to find efficiencies in areas like HR and corporate IT. It's not about cutting blindly. It's about identifying where you can be smarter with resources. Second, you have to proactively manage tariff exposure. That means exploring product adjustments that might change your tariff classifications or weighing onshoring versus offshoring trade offs. If you're in manufacturing, you need to deeply understand your HSTS codes and continuously monitor global changes. It's strategic portfolio management, not just cost accounting.
And that brings up something critical that Deep Ranthran from Gardner talks about. He calls the US business landscape a bifurcation nation. It's a K-shaped environment. What does that mean for finance leaders trying to navigate all this?
It means you can't apply the same strategy across the board. Some companies, especially in tech and AI, are experiencing real tailwinds right now. But then you have sectors like manufacturing, mass market retail, and professional services facing significant headwinds. A strategy that works brilliantly for a tech company leveraging AI might completely fail a manufacturer dealing with fluctuating demand and tariff pressures. The key is understanding where your business sits on that K and planning accordingly.
And AI's impact isn't evenly distributed either, is it? Dr. Robert Murphy at Infio makes the point that if you're a home builder, ChatGPT isn't throwing a hammer. But if your employees work on computers, AI makes your operations cheaper and more profitable almost immediately.
Exactly, DJ. For leaders in sectors that are heavily digital, the mandate is clear. You invest in AI to drive efficiency and redefine your cost structure. Like companies like Latera are seeing employees use AI in everything from pricing to customer self-service, which radically improves margins without scaling headcount. But if you're in manufacturing, the impact isn't as direct. Your focus might be on AI for supply chain optimization, predictive maintenance, or advanced analytics. It's about identifying specific use cases that align with your operational realities, not just chasing the hype.
And external forces like tariffs aren't one-size-fits-all either. Lori Harbour from Whitley Advisory sees flat to minor growth for manufacturing, with demand for durable goods down. Then you layer on tariff pressures in auto, e-commerce, and consumables, as David Pickle mentioned.
Right. A tariff change for a company that depends on imported raw materials can be a margin-threatening disruption. But for a domestic-focused service business, it might barely register. Finance leaders need to go deep into their supply chains, understand their HSTS codes, and map their direct and indirect costs related to tariffs. And you need to know your consumer base, especially if they're lower income earners, and be prepared for potential trade downs. This isn't about general economic trends, it's about granular industry-specific analysis.
So we've talked about managing uncertainty, deploying AI strategically, and protecting margins. But another critical piece is what I'd call wide field of vision. It's about recognizing that shocks can come from almost anywhere, and assuming your home market conditions apply everywhere is a dangerous blind spot.
Absolutely. Even the best laid plans can be upended by things you didn't see coming. Think about sudden stock market corrections, geopolitical turbulence, or a policy change that ripples through demand and capital availability. Michael Perica specifically called out currency volatility as a wild card not to ignore, because a sharp foreign exchange swing can instantly reshape your input costs or overseas margins. The practical takeaway is that you need to be constantly scanning the horizon, not just your immediate backyard.
So what does that actually look like for a finance team that's already stretched thin? How do you avoid blind spots when different parts of the globe are experiencing these pressures so differently?
It means finance needs to be closer than ever to the front line. Melissa Howitson made a great point about this. CFOs need to really understand what customer-facing leaders are dealing with. It's not just about reading economic reports, though that's important. It's about direct engagement. If you have operations or trade partners in Asia, Europe, or the UK, finance needs to proactively understand geopolitical developments or shifts in consumer demand there. That understanding directly informs your sales allocation, volume expectations, and pricing strategy. The actionable step here is to schedule regular, structured check-ins with your regional sales VPs and supply chain leads, specifically asking about external pressures they're observing, not just internal performance.
That shifts finance from reacting to reported numbers to being a proactive strategic partner. You're leveraging the intelligence that already exists within the organization, but making sure it gets channeled up to finance in a structured way.
Exactly. And that kind of proactive intelligence gathering is what separates finance functions that anticipate shifts from those that just respond to them.
So, Erin, as finance leaders think about all this, the uncertainty, the AI imperative, the K-shaped economy, and the need for wider vision, what does this distill down to? What are the core actions they should be taking right now to prepare for 2026 and beyond?
The first thing is truly internalizing that uncertainty is the new certainty. This isn't philosophical, DJ. It means moving from hoping for clarity to actively building agility into every plan. Finance leaders need to construct robust scenarios, not just one base case, and embed contingency options. So here's a practical step. Take your last major strategic plan and identify the 3 biggest external variables that could derail it. And then ask yourself, what specific wiggle room have we built in for each of those? If the answer isn't clear, that's where you start.
That's building resilience by design, not just reacting to surprises. And on AI, it's clearly an opportunity, but also an arms race, as Steve Stapleton put it. How do CFOs actually operationalize AI beyond just discussing its potential?
It's about cultural and strategic integration, not just a tech rollout. Priyanka Singh's mandate for every employee to use AI at Litera is a powerful model. Finance leaders need to cultivate an environment where teams are actively experimenting with AI tools to find efficiency gains in manual processes. So here's a concrete challenge. Identify one repetitive task within your finance function this week, anything from report generation to data reconciliation, and challenge your team to find an AI tool that could automate or significantly simplify it. And remember, the traditional build versus buy analysis is flipped now. For your next major tech investment, don't default to buying. Explore whether AI tools offer a quicker, more cost-effective path to build it internally.
Clear call to action. Now, on the profitless prosperity trap that Seidel Baker warned about, how do we ensure growth genuinely translates to profitability in this inflationary environment, especially with the bifurcation aspect playing out?
The absolute priority is ruthless margin scrutiny. It's tempting to chase top-line growth, but Seidelbaker's caution about limited pricing power means you have to dive deep into your cost structures. For consumer-facing businesses, understand the bifurcation in your consumer base. Are you prepared with a good, better, best model to retain customers if they need to trade down? And for industries heavily exposed to tariffs, like manufacturing, you have to actively manage your product portfolio. Ask yourself, when was the last time your team rigorously mapped out your top 3 tariff exposures by HTS code and explored product modifications or onshoring options to mitigate that risk? Growth that doesn't build the bottom line is a missed opportunity.
And that focus on profitable growth really emphasizes the need for that wide field of vision we talked about earlier. It's not just about what's happening internally or in your immediate market. It's about truly looking around corners for those external shocks. What's the leadership takeaway for cultivating that broader perspective?
It's about diversifying your data inputs and actively breaking down internal silos. Michael Parika called currency volatility a wild card, and Melissa Houtherson reminded us that home market conditions don't apply everywhere. Finance leaders need to be proactively engaging with frontline teams, sales, customer-facing roles, and even external economists to understand global trends, geopolitical shifts, policy changes in key trading partners, potential stock market corrections. A practical step, implement a regular external scan as a standing item on your leadership team's monthly agenda. What are the 3 biggest global developments that could impact our business next quarter, and what are our contingency plans for each? That kind of foresight is what will truly differentiate resilient finance functions in this environment.
Yeah, I think that's the real reframe here. Uncertainty isn't something to survive, it's something to use. If you build the right systems, the right agility, and the right field of vision, it actually becomes a competitive advantage.
Couldn't agree more, DJ. Really valuable conversation on this one. Thanks for diving into it.
All right, I think that's a good place to leave this. It's been a really good discussion. And to everyone listening, thank you for staying with us and spending your time here. We don't take that lightly. Until next time.